Big things finally go down in Ultimate Spider-Man, and I am loving it. Issues 13 and 14 have finally dropped, and they absolutely rock. We're starting to get payoffs to that year of build-up, and I really need to ramble about it. It's so good, and I love this book so freaking much. Peter and Harry have been playing heroes for like a year by this point. They've only fought Kingpin, they lost that fight hard, and Black Cat, who got sent to the wheelchair embarrassingly quick. After messing with Kingpin's business a little too much, he gathers up the Sinister Six to deal with the heroes. The six morons decide to fight the duo one by one. Kraven's up second. He kidnaps the two and holds them captive for weeks. He threatens their families, rambles about the hunt, all that good stuff you'd expect from him. Now that we have filled Hickman's need to fit each issue with a different month, which I do love that little gimmick, Kraven decides to let them loose in the Severance so he can hunt them proper and fill his Kraven fantasies. Volume 3, we're finally getting some action, and it's really good. Like, if you haven't been reading yet, now is the time to genuinely jump in, because now it's getting really good. Don't get me wrong, it's not a super action-packed book. Even now, most of the Kraven issue is Harry and Peter just walking and talking like it was a Naughty Dog game. Nothing that exciting happens. I mean, Spider-Man does ride a Velociraptor, so that's pretty cool. This is still a character-focused book, but these issues really highlight why that works so well. The escape feels so tense, not because of the action, but because of the stakes. Peter is constantly thinking about his family, and that's fair since the interdimensional Illuminati is gunning for them. I can't make phone calls without having a mental breakdown. I can't even imagine what this would feel like on Peter. Harry doesn't help at all during this issue. He keeps telling Peter he's gotta be ready to do whatever is necessary. He does it like 3 times. He really wants Peter to kill. He also reminds Peter his family is in danger. Like, bro, you are not helping. Harry gets his leg injured because, of course he does. Mole Man shows up to show them an underground passage. Mole Man's motivation seems to be with his mole people. He disrupts Kraven's hunt to save the 2 heroes. He has plans that might be the end of him, and he doesn't seem too interested in riches, so my guess is he's gonna turn on Kingpin and maybe join Harry and Mysterio and all the rebels in order to protect his people. Maybe once the Maker shows up, he will turn on the rebels for the same reason. Who knows at this point? There's still a lot of mystery, and the mystery is honestly the most fun part of this. Like, the conversation is really what really helps to elevate this book. Like, Amazing Spider-Man has not produced this kind of fun in a long time. Wells tried, but these mysteries are genuinely fun to theorize about. It is not painful, you know? When we were first introduced to the Six, we got big info dumps on all of them. The lore on Kraven was that he was exiled from Russia and he hunts in pairs. He kills one prey and spares the other. He displays them for all to see in like a zoo or something. This is why he put up a show for Mole Man and Mysterio, maybe, I guess? Or, you know, just to pay Mole Man. Like, it is a curious thing to note, especially considering how the issue ends up turning out. Mole Man was noted as the oldest and most loyal of the 6, which definitely is an interesting take on Mole Man since he is already betraying Kraven and possibly going against the Kingpin, so yeah, loyal. And he does have the biggest kingdom of all the Sinister Six, so he might end up being quite a major player. Kingpin never told the 6 to actually kill Spider-Man and Goblin on page. He just says like something along the lines of, let's make a game out of this, which implies there's more than just a hit going on. Maybe they're competing for the honor of taking in Spider-Man and Mole Man's just biding his time. I doubt it, but it's a thought. What was Kingpin's order exactly? I don't think it's been revealed at all, and Black Cat was inefficient in his attempt, Kraven was inefficient, Mole Man seems to straight up not want them dead. So what's going on here? Nobody seems to actually be straight up gunning for them. Spider-Man keeps asking like why they're doing this, and every single one of these villains is saying like, oh, none of your business. So it makes me think the reward must be something larger, like, you know, you get a favor with the Maker, you get a place in the new world, or something more. And maybe this will come back around because it's come up a few times now. Whatever these guys are up to is secret enough that they can't just say it, and they keep reiterating this. So Kingpin does have a history of tormenting his enemies, so you know, it's an interesting thing. Now the big scene is the climax. Kraven catches up with the two and we get a pretty decent action scene where he pulls out an entire minigun and tries to shoot him. And in a funny reversal, it is Harry and Peter who pull the ambush on Kraven, luring him into a booby trap. So that's kind of fun. Kraven does get the Batman special, but Peter doesn't go all the way. This isn't the worst Kraven by any means, because we've had quite a few of those things over the years, but all he did was use a sniper and a minigun, which is one of those things that should be cool, but feels oh so wrong. that's it. No, there is nothing more to him. No nets, no clever ambushes, no interesting ways to combat Spider-Man's powers. Like, really nothing to him. I like the art. I really grew to like his design with the tattoo. But I think overall, this is a very weak Kraven. He's too much of a brute. He should be clever, and maybe that's the point. Kraven does shoot Harry straight into the forehead. The man's dead. We see the body. Mystery shows up like 2 seconds later, so okay, so Harry's not dead. But this does beg the question, how big is the illusion here? Is Harry having his own illusion with Peter just around the corner that we don't see? Is this even the real Kraven? That would explain the giant machine gun. Mole Man is working with Mysterio, so to a degree, Mysterio could have set this up and maybe even sent Mole Man to save the two. I think I mentioned it before in some previous video, something's off with this Gwen. Then we get Mysterio with that strong Is That Frost energy, and he's entirely drenched in purple, which nowadays is kind of connected to Spider-Gwen, and it's like, okay. I mean, come on, she literally wore a shade of purple in a previous issue. Like, it's like, yeah, it's like, that's a bit obvious, so no, it's not her. I figured it would be Gale, because that's the less obvious choice, so I was putting my bets on her, but in this issue, Ickman telegraphs even harder that Gwen is Mysterio. Gwen has taken a major backseat in the last few issues. She's framed with Harry when Kraven threatens Gwen. Mysterio is here when Harry's in danger, so maybe she's keeping tabs on her boyfriend. Harry's death happens around Mysterio, so it's probably an illusion, so Harry could be even in on the thing, or just be saved by Gwen, who knows. Mysterio lets Peter go, like not taking vengeance upon somebody she might be allied with. If Mole Man doesn't like the evil Illuminati ruling the world, he'd have a reason to work with Gwen, but I have such a hard time believing in it. It's like when Rocksteady kept claiming Arkham Knight is totally not Jason Todd, but an entirely new character, and a lot of us were like, yeah, that's Jason, but that's so obvious it can't be. And then it was Jason. Maybe it's both Gwen and Gale. Mysterio does have an entire crew of people helping him out in 616, so it could be the same thing here. Now, predictable is not a bad thing. I don't have a problem with that, but it's like, it does seem like there's a very clear option here that is being pushed onto the reader. What's interesting is that Mysterio threatens Peter off from killing Kraven. If it was Gwen, wouldn't you want to see Kraven get last hunted? Harry is going to appear dead for Kingpin and his crew, so he now has an opportunity to disappear from Kingpin's radar, and maybe he's gonna work with Gwen from the shadows while Peter takes all the heat. Maybe Harry and Gwen felt like Peter's too much of a wimp, so they tried to groom him to being a hardened killer because they genuinely like him. If Peter kills Kraven, he's a worthy ally. If he doesn't, well, then he probably is too weak-willed and was never gonna make it, right? Whatever it takes kind of seems to be Harry's attitude, so could be possible. And Gwen does seem to be a little bit more calculated in this iteration. Or maybe Harry's dead and this was it, in which case, I'll be honest, it's a very super lame death. I only felt excited for the escalation of it, but I didn't feel emotional over losing a character. Now, this is all fine if there's more to this whole thing, which I'm gonna very much assume there is, otherwise this would be very much a disappointment. Now, this whole book has a big focus on kind of fleshing out all the characters, the entire cast. Harry's had so much screen time, Gwen has had a weirdly little screen time again, she's a little mysterious, and even in these issues where we're in the action, there's still a B-plot going on with Peter's son Richard. He's sneaking off with the symbiote suit, learning how to be Spider-Man. They have some cool father-son talks, and it's all a little weird, a little stranger danger. I'm not entirely sure how worried I should be. The symbiote is acting fine, giving Richard pep talks and telling me it's gonna be okay, and even encouraging him and teaching him how to protect himself. That's all great, but then the symbiote suggests adding a bit of itself to Richard's bloodstream so the symbiote can track him wherever he goes, which is way over the line. That's some stranger danger stuff, and not necessarily the most immediate kind of worrying thing, but it's at the same time, there seems to be boundary pushing here. Now, how intentional it is, I don't think the symbiote is actively being evil. It's weird, but I kind of at least hope it doesn't go all evil. I'd imagine it's just gonna grow too attached to the family and become maybe a little possessive. So we'll see. Maybe it just doesn't understand how to help the family. I think that's gonna be the angle. It is ominous, but not in a way where it's trying to hurt anyone. Very befitting of the symbiote. In these issues, Richard comes across this universe as Felicia Hardy, aka the Black Cat. It seems Richard might have a romantic storyline, and once again, it's a bit weird to see. I'm intrigued, but I'm not that excited for Richard's story. Luckily, he's kept to few pages per issue, so it's never a problem. We just get a cute scene where he has banter with Felicia, and they kind of hang out, just sharing what it feels like to be kids of these superpowered individuals, and it's cute. Like, not much else to say, not much has happened. Despite people hyping up the Venom child thing, nothing's been done with that. It's just interesting, and it remains to see where it goes. But based on the fact that Kraven stuff paid off pretty well, it's like, yeah, I'm expecting a lot. The final scene of the issue might be my favorite. It's a simple scene of Peter arriving home, bleeding, beaten, scared. MJ and him reconnect and realize just how bad things are. I love MJ's reaction. She goes from being mad, like, how dare you leave me for like a month or something, to shocked, to being like, oh my god, you're bleeding, what is going on, to, oh my god, they're coming for us, what are we gonna do, to scared. She goes from mad to shocked to scared. It's great. You could have just had her yell at a badly beaten Peter for getting kidnapped like it was his fault, but it's played more realistically here, and it's so much harder because of that. They are on the same team, and they act like it. And Hickman really just does get the couple aspect of it down. They feel like genuine people who care about each other instead of people who are forced to hate each other, which has been a problem, so I'm just gonna take every chance to praise it, because my god, it feels good to see genuinely well-written couples. After 2 banger issues, we end on probably the most predictable payoff line of the series, but it's a really good line though. It doesn't matter, it's, again, predictable is not bad. What are we going to do? We run.